7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here they go. Liftoff. The Guinness Book of World Records has just been broken in Cleveland. Over 1,500,000 balloons going up in the air at this very, very moment. Look at the crowd.
So the 1986 Cleveland balloon release disaster happened right here. It all started right here. This is in the public square here, center of Cleveland. So September 27th, 1986, Cleveland became the center of attention for just a little bit. During its record-breaking balloon release, volunteers worked tirelessly to fill hundreds of thousands of balloons with helium. Right in this very spot, there was a massive net, a multicolored floating dome of balloons above them, ready to be released into the sky.
Okay, Tanya, show everybody what you have on your hands there. What are those?
Let's say bandages.
Okay, and what are they for?
They're for getting away from sores from your hand.
Okay, did you get any blisters?
Yeah, 3.
Are you having a good time?
Yeah.
Are you tired?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Chuck, as you can see, they're going strong. They're blowing them up. I still think they have the record. Back to you, Chuck.
Now, the idea of Balloonfest was proposed and executed by United Way. It was led by a California-based company called Balloonist by Treb. And I don't know if they're still around anymore, but at the time, they specialized in large-scale balloon displays and events. So how they made money was United Way sold sponsorships for individual balloons to raise money for their programs. I think it was like $1 a balloon. So it's not a bad idea. The community members and businesses purchased balloons or groups of balloons, and at the time, they raised quite a bit of money for that. The goal was to surpass the record that was set by Disneyland in the year prior. They released about 1 million balloons or so. So thousands of volunteers participated in filling these balloons over several days leading up to this big release. And the anticipation was high. Local, national media, they were promoting this event as a historic spectacle, one to put Cleveland on the map in a positive light, I guess. However, organizers were heavily focused on the spectacle. Apparently, they overlooked any real contingency plans for weather changes or cleanup. I don't know that anything was really considered much past the release of the balloons. Kind of makes me think of that famous quote from Jurassic Park. They were so preoccupied with whether or not they could that they didn't stop to think if they should.
And the far end is up. There they go, John. The Guinness Book of World Records has just been broken in Cleveland. Over 1,500,000 balloons going up in the air at this very, very moment. Look at the crowd down. We did it. We did it, John. There it goes. It's completely covering the terminal tower. Oh, look at that.
And it was these oversights combined with the overwhelming amount of balloons that set the stage for the disastrous consequences that would follow the release. But in any event, it was about 1.5 million balloons that they released, and it was certainly a spectacle, as you can see from the videos. I mean, it's incredible looking. But shortly after that amazing release, a cold front moved in. And there was rain and cooler temperatures, and that forced the balloons down much quicker than expected. Now, I don't know where people thought those balloons were going to go. I mean, they're going to go somewhere, so I guess it was going to be other people's problems to clean them up. But instead, they didn't go very far, and they started landing all over the area, rapidly descending onto the streets, the highways, causing accidents, heavy congestion. They were landing on airport runways, causing shutdowns and delays. It was almost like a snowstorm, but with colorful balloons. Here you go. This is the exact location, to the best of my ability at least, where my thumbnail photo, that famous photo, was taken. These kids were right here. This is the Soldiers and Sailors Monument. And they were pretty much at the base of these steps. And the balloon, huge fenced off area, was right here, right where that water is now. You know, it's interesting to watch the video now and see the clips and see how happy and proud people were, because we're looking through it now through the eyes of modern times, which we would never do that now. You know, I get it. I get what they were trying to do. It was just a different mindset than nowadays. I don't think that would ever happen in modern times, because of the fact that you're creating an environmental disaster. Now, by far, the biggest tragedy of that event was the possible link to 2 deaths during this time. On the previous day, 2 fishermen, Ray Broderick and Bernard Sulzer, left on a fishing trip on Lake Erie from the Edgewater Park in Cleveland. And that evening, when they both didn't return home, the families reported them missing. And the next morning, the Coast Guard deployed boats and helicopters to search in the water that was already rough due to the weather. And then they came. Thousands of balloons, hundreds of thousands of balloons potentially, landing in Lake Erie. A sea of bobbing, colorful balloons, making the search basically impossible, as you can imagine. However, the search did continue on. Now, I believe it was the next day, but they eventually did find those 2 men who had in fact drowned, and it's believed that they likely capsized in the rough waters. Now, some say that the balloons had nothing to do with that, but there's really no way to prove if it did or not, because of the given circumstances here. But it's certainly a possibility. Both of these gentlemen are buried in the Cleveland area at separate cemeteries, so I wanted to just come and show you the graves and pay my respects. Both families of the men sued United Way, but I'm sure there were many other lawsuits, judging by the disruption of vital rescue operations. There were accidents, delays of critical services, not to mention environmental damage and cleanup. After everything was said and done, and all the lawsuits were settled, legal fees paid, property damage taken care of, there was no money raised for charity at all. All of that money was diverted to cleanup efforts. In fact, some report United Way of Cleveland actually spent more money than they took in. Balloonfest began as a positive event, but at this point it will always be remembered as a cautionary tale of the balance between creativity and responsibility.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is no mistake on the lake anymore. Cleveland